This video is for awareness and educational purposes.
All hereby copyrighted content is for fair use and under the Fair Use Law of Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976.
Pendo made it. With the sauce.
This is a SONOFMAN presentation. As y'all all know, frequencies of thought, this is where we literally open up our celestial ears and we literally interpret and understand the world and all the things within the world with our consciousness, which envelopes the universe. For your mind is a replica of how space is ever expanding. Peace and blessings, everyone. This is Frequencies of Thought.
So what you all saw that day, which went on for about 3 to 4 days, is red iron oxide. Red iron oxide is basically a subatomic particle which is made up of iron. And this, when you are breathing this in, this is all over. When you're breathing this in, this brings something called sepsis. It literally can make you extremely sick and cause the lungs and your white blood cells to believe that you are sick with a cold or a fever or even the flu or even pneumonia. And your T cells, which are your white blood cells, they'll begin to try to fight this infection, which literally causes the body to hurt the red blood cells. And most people have their children or their elderly be affected by this. This has happened multiple times in the past, let's say 3 years, where multiple people get flu-like symptoms, but it's not the flu, but they feel like they're almost dying. They're feeling like they can't breathe and they can't stop coughing, and every time they cough, nothing comes up except this white type of mucus, and that's it. This is from something called sepsis. The way to actually beat that, I've explained in earlier lectures, like last year when this was going around. What it does is that you have to literally eat natural fruits and vegetables and drink natural juices. No meat products and no byproducts that are processed by meat, such as cheese, milk, and so on and so forth. And it'll go away. It's the fastest and easiest way for any of that to go away. But when you're also looking at this red iron oxide that we've been having for the past 3 years, what you're seeing is you're seeing the environment, the air, the oxygen, the atmosphere literally being seeded with red iron oxide and literally mingling itself with something called phosphorus. Many of you might know the word phosphorus to mean the word Lucifer. Now, these are both subatomic particle elements that are vital to the body. The light bringer, which is Lucifer, better known as Aaron, or should I say the Christ, literally gets breathed into your body and it begins to literally seed itself right along with the other minerals and elements and vitamins that you have within your body. This literally causes an awakening and it clears the clouds for you. It begins to clear the clouds. This is why so many people on the earth right now know and understand that there is something extremely wrong. We're at the end of something. Something's wrong. And they know this because of the ions of the sun literally sparking the phosphorus within your body, which is literally little forms of light. You all know that if you are ingesting, as a matter of fact, a match is made out of phosphorus. What happens when you give heat to this match? It bursts in flames. Well, this is what's happening in your body on a micro level, or like, billions of particles of these dust particles are in your body already. Combat that with the sulfur that has been exploding out of each and every single one of these continental volcanoes all over the world for the past 3 years, on and off, 6 months here, 3 months there, 2 months here, 1 week there, for 3 full years, just like scriptures explain. These elements are all mixing within the human genome, which literally helps the hydrogen as well as the oxygen and carbon that is within the body to literally mix itself with the Lucifer or the phosphorus as well as sulfur, which literally brings about the transfiguration that I have spoken. Some of you will go through it, some of you may not. The ones who do not will be because you do not literally treat your temple the way you should be, meaning you are still enjoying the woes of these byproducts such as cheese, milk, and whatever else they got out there right now, because they just invent stuff every single day. And then some of you are gonna have it happen. And what this is this is not a movie. I'm not trying to make you envision a movie. That's fantasy. What I need you to envision is your body literally going through a change, a mutation, so to say, where your genes literally are realigning themselves and editing themselves, where they're literally adhering to the real you, meaning the real person who you used to be. Many of you were never this person that you are right now. The person that you are right now is a way more serious person who is able to look at the world and see the world for what it is. Many of you were not that person, let's say 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, or 4 years ago, all the way back to 7 years ago to 2012, when the Mayan calendar ended. But to not go down a rabbit hole on ya, you have to understand that that is the 7-year tribulation up to now. And now we are in the last year of this 7-year tribulation. And during this year begins the time of trouble. This ended literally on the 23rd. So this is beginning the time of trouble that I have a scriptorical lecture that I put out, and it's called Jacob's Trouble. Make sure that you catch up on that so that you can know what to expect and what it is that is going to occur and happen. So this way you are not caught off guard. So now that you are seeing all of these things happening within the atmosphere and your body is being introduced to it into your body, This is what this whole thing that you guys call chemtrail was about. It was trying to literally stop or slow down the flood of what they're calling the red Saharan dust, or this red iron oxide, because that's what it really is. And I've explained this in past lecture. And this thing is actually not trying to hurt you. It only hurts you when you're literally hurting yourself by ingesting all of these negative foods and byproducts. What it's doing is that it's healing you and it's returning you back to the way in which the Father created you. So that when the time comes and the Father says enough, your subatomic particles, which is in your nucleus, literally burst open, and that breath of life which He blew into you, which is in each and every single one of your cells, will literally unleash. Each cell has a membrane, cell membrane. Many of you are familiar with it. The cell membrane is memory. Memory in the form of not just who you are, but who everyone before you was. Some of you will remember each and every single thing about you and those that you knew in your past. This is why I've always said, if you have a long lost loved one or someone in your family, a descendant, and you're able to find out as much as you can about them, do so, because there will come a time where you will be given the opportunity to remember certain things, and this will literally help solve many of your questions. Many of the questions that we've always asked and wondered in our own head, these are the things that will assist. So I just wanted to really touch on that particular aspect of the red iron oxide in Afghanistan, which occurred the last few days. And it's occurred here many times. It's occurred at night. I have a video where I'm showing it. It's in the night. It's happening in the night. And you could not see the dust particles in the air, but when you take a still shot, you can see the flakes, or should I say the sulfur and the ash, clear as day. And this is what that was. Many of you have already experienced that. Yes, this is the same thing that basically happened in Brazil as well a few weeks ago. These are all things that happen all over every single continent, feeding the children of God, the sons and daughters of God, of the Most High. That's what that is, feeding you. It's separating the wheat from the tares. Many of you are familiar with the wheat and the tares. That's what your book speaks of, the wheat and the tares, where you and those who are negative grow together, but there's just something quite different between you and them. And what's different between you and them is that you can think. You are a free thinker, and they are not. No matter how much you explain to them, how much you show them, they just don't get it. Or if they get it, they'll get it for that moment, literally sit their butt down somewhere, and literally get seated with a whole bunch of other fantasy all over again. Basically has all the answers. Every human on the planet knows the beginning and the end, and knows it backwards as well. The problem is that because we've been conditioned to this reality in which we don't know nothing, and in which we were made to believe that we cannot know everything, what ends up happening is that we end up really believing that and adopting that as reality. But that's not reality. How do we know that that's not reality? Because I'm pretty sure that there's some of you that know things that you've never even studied or known or even knew about. And the minute it pop up and you think about it, you're able to actually answer the person and explain even further about the subject to the person, and you don't even have a clue about it, just off of the fact that you know what the name mean, or what the word in the name mean, or what is the function of that particular subject. This literally opens up the keys to your thoughts to allow you to literally break things down to its basic origin. You understand? And that is the key to to the Matrix. The Matrix has literally caused us to believe that we need to rely upon it, and it's caused us to literally look at one another as if I can't believe you, I can't trust you, but I can't trust or believe my government until it gets serious. Then when it gets serious and my government says something, they're telling me the truth. And this is what it is, and this is how it is right now, even with this vaccine situation. You know how many people are online talking about, oh, I'm not giving my kids no vaccine. The minute their kids get sick, what ends up happening? They go take them to the doctor, and the doctor says they got to take a vaccine, and now they give the child the vaccine. The reason why is because we are conditioned. They have conditioned us to accept things in that manner. They've made it to where we see a lab coat, and we immediately, our micro mental processors immediately say authority. You know, this guy must know he's wearing a lab coat. Or if a cop pull you over, this guy's the law, authority. He has a suit on and a badge. And it goes vice versa with a person wearing a suit. And I think I've explained this in a past lecture, where I explained that in the hood in New York City, where I'm from, any person, white, black, Chinese, African American, Indian, whatever you want to call him, if he comes into the hood and he's wearing a suit, he's either one or two things. He's either a cop or a millionaire, a banker, somebody who owns a record company or something. You understand? And this is the misconception. It's called stereotyping. This is the misconception that they fed us through the word stereotyping, which literally supersedes all other intelligence. It throws everything else out. Even if the person was to tell us, I don't have no money, and he's wearing this suit that probably just cost $12, but because he's wearing a suit that looks nice and ironed out and there's no wrinkles, we're looking at him like he's $1 million. You understand? That's what they did. They played with our senses. Well, when you're talking about the fall of man and the beginning of what we're talking about, this matrix, you have to understand that this is a constant elevating matrix. For example, the way it is now was not how it was, let's say, in the 80s, 90s, 70s, 60s, 50s. Every 7 years, they literally update, just like your consciousness updates. It goes according to the children. Well, yeah, that's what they use. What they use to condition everybody is what you see on TV. They condition you through your cartoons, your Hollywood, your Disney. Disney plays a very, very big part. This is why they just did that whole Time's Up thing. Most people don't understand Hollywood and Disney, which literally overruns the cartoon industry, literally had this, it was called the Golden Globes. And in the Golden Globes, they had yellow and black on, which symbolizes royalty and darkness. And what they were symbolizing was, what they were saying was time's up. And they was using time's up hashtag in the form that predators, sexual predators, the time is up for them and they will be ousted and whatnot. But we all know that these people in these brotherhoods, they don't put each other in jail. They'll tell me and you that they're going to jail, but they'll literally just let them go and put a stunt dummy, somebody who looks like him, who's innocent, or a clone or whatever, in a jail cell, and put them on TV whenever it's time to let people realize, yeah, the guy's still in jail or whatever. But when the Time's Up movement came out, this was, remember, right after the September 23rd full moon, Great American Eclipse. And what that was symbolizing was the beginning of a certain type of consciousness and awareness that would begin seeding humanity against those people who have been used as gateways or gatekeepers or boulets to keep the people depressed in this fantasy reality that we've been living in. Now, as you can see, things are becoming more real, because now you could be on Instagram and become a freaking sensation, acting or singing or just playing some comedy or whatever overnight. This was what they were signifying. They were signifying where they would begin to lose their power, and now the power will be given to the people. Just like the scripture says, the meek will inherit the earth. And the tablet says, and the tablet says that the meek will inherit the Bible says the meek will inherit the earth, and the tablets say, I believe it's the Enuma Elish, or it might be the Sumerian tablet, says, and wisdom shall abound upon the earth, and those who hold wisdom shall be the kings with the keys to the reality. You understand? Because what's happening is that nobody needs to go to school. Nobody, that was all BS. That was training. That's why we're living the problem we're living. You get what I'm saying? Well, at the moment you can't. At the moment, if you have a child in school, of course you know you can't pull them out, because, like I explained in the past lecture, if you pull your kid out of school, you're either gonna go to jail and they're gonna take him from you, and then they'll really raise him. The experiences that you have in your life, you tell your son about the lifetimes and experiences that you have in your house, and believe it or not, children are like sponge. And every 7 years they elevate and they become, that sponge gets wrung out, and they begin to soak all the information that they're being introduced with all over again. This is why you go to school, and then like after 3 years or 4 years in one school, you will go to the next school, and that's called middle school or junior high school or high school or whatever. This is because they know how the brain works, especially the children's brains. So being that you have a lifetime of experiences under your belt, 43 years, 23 years, 19 years, whatever, whenever your son is home with you and you're doing something together, just start telling them about your experiences. Trust me, kids are smart right now. Kids, like I said, do not need to go to school or nothing. You start telling them about your experiences, and trust me, they will not make the same error as you. They will not. Think about it. Have you done the same thing your mom and dad did without knowing that they've done it? Usually you end up doing what your mom and dad have done. Let's say stealing a piece of candy out the store. And the reason for that is because that's genetics. Because of your genetics, which is memory, you end up literally doing some of the same exact things your mom or your dad or your granddad, not so much your granddads, but usually your own parents, the ones closest to you, you end up doing what they've done. He said, what about looking in other books for, information? Let's say the story of Christ when he was a child, and you want to really dig into who Christ was. How would you, do you got to just go by what the Bible says? And I explained to him, Christ says it out his own mouth. He who knows one book knows none. Meaning you're supposed to seek knowledge. You're supposed to open all books. He even tells you you're supposed to know the Quran just like a Muslim knows a Quran. You're supposed to know the Bible just like a Christian or a Catholic knows the Bible. You're supposed to know the book of Confucius and know the tablets as well as the Bhagavad Gita just as well as an Indonesian does. The reason why is because all of these things, what you're going to find out and figure out is that they're all a piece of one another. They're the same story, just in a different language. For example, the Quran, which means to recite, is literally what we call the Torah in Arabic. That's all it is. That's all it is. And the names are Arabic. And then in the Torah, you have the names in our language, English, in English. That's it. And then you have little details that are not in scripture, Bible scripture, that literally answer questions if you actually understand that the Quran is just the same thing in another language. That's it. All of those religions are Judeo religions, meaning created by the Judaic society and the Council of Nicaea, the Jesuits. I'm pretty sure you guys know that. And those people literally separated things to create these confusing groups of people, multitudes of people all over the world, and everybody has a piece, and people need to come together in order to figure it out. So that's why he says, the meek shall inherit the earth. The meek shall inherit the earth, because the ones with the keys to the answer to everything in the world and all the world issues is the people, because it's the people who are lost. The elites are not lost. The elites are hiding the truth from you. They're keeping you lost. You understand? So it's really quite simple. When you're looking at, and this is important, because when you're looking at scripture saying, he who knows one book knows none, everyone has an Android or an iPhone or a tablet or a computer or a laptop at home, and they can easily just go to Google and type in English version of a Quran. What you'll find, as soon as you type that in and begin reading, you'll find the missing story of the creation, because the Quran begins creating the angels and what we would call the demons, the iblis and the jinns and the jinns, the jinns. And this is a story that is not in your Bible. Where you begin to hear about the jinn is literally when the Father caused the assembly, and all of them come up out of the earth, and those that are above the earth and within the earth, they literally come up, and they're, before the Father at this assembly. And that's when you begin to understand that there's other entities upon this earth that apparently aren't going according to what the Father wanted. So the Quran actually begins to tell you the gap of the beginning. I've had many people tell me, so what did the Father create first? Did he create human first, or mankind first, or the angels, or what was it that he created? And it's real simple. He created the angels first, because the angels were created and they were to serve you, but they did not want to serve you. And especially after they were here first, and then you was made afterward, they was like, nah, we're not trying to serve them. Not when we can control them. Why should we serve them? And these are answers that are right there in the first few pages of your Quran. This is for everybody to literally understand. These things, or these what we calling religions, things that are calling religion, or philosophies, walks of life, literally all are pieces of the puzzle that have been placed in other people's hands and caused you to think those people who have those pieces are your enemy, so that you never come together and add it all up. And then they keep you focused on only certain scriptures. I'm pretty sure you guys know that. If I was to explain to you the truth, let me repeat that, because that literally means that if the truth was cast down for 2,300 years, that means that our ancestors, our aunts, uncles, great-great-great-grandfathers, great-great-great-great-great-grandmothers, and so on and so forth, who lived close to 100 years, or maybe a little below 100 years, that means that 2,300 of them have actually lived and died already without the truth. And the scriptures tell you that the truth has been cast down for 2,300 years. Let me tell you something. The scriptures, believe it or not, has, how can I put it? The scriptures, the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita, these books that are in these nations that have been the nation's religion or spiritual walk of life for eons, since the beginning of time, basically are the pieces of the puzzle to to the questions that everyone is asking. These questions are all answers, and all we have to do is literally research and study. That's it. If we look at things with common sense, with logic, and literally put it through the wine press, meaning through our thoughts to mow on it and chew on it, and then swallow it if it's making sense, and spit it back out if it's not making sense. And so when you're looking at the Matrix, you have to understand that the story of the scriptures, because I want to show you it through the scriptures. The story of the scriptures begin at Genesis, meaning the genes, the genesis of the genes, the beginning, the origin of how the human body came to be, as well as the clone came to be. When you're looking at these stories, these individuals that are in these stories, such as David, Solomon, and we'll start with those two, father and son, you have to understand that David is the word life in general. After life was introduced to Adam and Eve, meaning evolution. After an Adam is introduced to an evolution, what ends up happening is growth begins, evolution begins, development begins. That is the word love. That's where love actually came from. That's what love really is, allowing things to be. So now, understanding that Adam was introduced to evolution, or Eve, mitochondria came in, or should I say the rib, which is the ribovirin. I mean, the ribber. I'm pretty sure you guys know what I'm talking about. I don't know the riboflavin. Sorry. And the riboflavin combined with atom and evolution, meaning the time, as it's beginning to evolve, or should I say grow and develop, it creates what looks to be like ribs, which is in other term the double helix, with Jacob's ladder in between it. This literally crosses the parallel of sequences of time. Each one of those little things that look like staircases on a ladder, or step rungs on a ladder, that's basically right there one sequence of time, and you have billions of them in your DNA. Now we move from Solomon to David, and you understand that now we move from now we begin with Solomon, should I say, and you understand that Solomon is two syllables, two words, compound word, solo and man, meaning individual man. So as man was being formed, man had issues that he had to overcome, meaning he had to understand that he would have to be an individual and deal with the worldly things of this world, and these are all things that are going to apply to every man, woman, and child that's alive right now. Everyone must understand that this is an individual process, and that everyone is a man, whether they're a womb man or a man. It does not matter. Everyone is man, because that is the creation in which the Father created, not mankind, human, meaning man of color, man of sound, man of frequency. That is what you are. You have a soul in you, and that soul is really a piece of sound, like a tune. For those of you who are musicians, everything was like you see in space, in the cosmos. That is what the celestial bodies is, what you really are. Those are the sons of God. Those are the giants. And those giants, those sons of God, come down to humanity, and they inhabit the vessels of man. Now, if you look at your screen right now, what you'll see is how our technology, each time you press on something, you're literally picking up that frequency, that energy, that Wi-Fi, that data, that knowledge that you're hitting on. And in that same format, the same way you're seeing how these emojis are being picked up through these fingers, this is exactly how your body is picking up the frequency when you're literally pressing upon your black screen on your phone, when you're literally typing a text and you put in an emoji, so on and so forth. These are different signs and symbols, icons, if to say the least, that literally give off a certain frequency. A lot of brothers and sisters ask me, why do you always use those same 4 emojis and never nothing else? And well, now you guys know why. Because this is what you take away from your phone whenever you're interacting with somebody or speaking to somebody or just searching the web, period, watching video, whatever. You're literally being influenced by all things, especially letters, numbers, circles, shapes, and symbols. Those are signs and symbols, all of it. And these things influence the mind in ways that you wouldn't believe. You'll think it's all about movies, and you're thinking it's, not that much of a big deal. But the reality is that if you are being bombarded with little hearts and smiley faces all day in every text, guess what? You're gonna be one emotional, mushy person by the end of that day. And that's pretty much what it is. It's called mass media. And most people need to be aware of it.
So if you're asking, are you the flesh or are you the soul? You're the soul. You're the thing that's being projected into the body. You've never been the flesh. You're not the flesh now. You're not even trapped in the flesh. You think you're trapped in the flesh. You're not trapped there. What it is that you don't know how to get out of it. You don't know enough about the flesh in order to get out. This is why it's important to know thyself. You must know yourself in order to get out. Because if you don't know that you are a dog, guess what? You're going to think you're a human, or you're going to be applying yourself and thinking that you're the closest thing to whatever you've been around your whole life. Do you know that some dogs actually think they're human? Some dogs that are literally helpers of people who have disabilities that barely go outside, they believe that they're human just like their master. And the reason for this, and it's a beautiful thing, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. It just shows you the beauty of the mind and how the mind works. And you must know how the mind works, because the enemy does. And this is what he plays upon, because he knows how your mind works. Well, yeah, when you're looking at, most people think this is a prison or a prison planet, and that you would place your mind gold. First of all, you're the one producing the gold. You understand? You're the one producing the gold. The real gold is the gold that you're producing in your body. The real uranium, the real nuclear energy is in your body. These things are being mined from inside of you. So now when you understand that people believe that they're prisons on this planet, they're not really paying attention to what they are or who they are. Because like I've said, you've never been the flesh. You still are not the flesh. You're only experiencing the things of the flesh because they told you that that's what you are. The minute you begin to snap out of it and know thyself, you will no longer see the flesh in no one. You'll see the beauty of the spirit or the soul of what they really truly are. Because the flesh is nothing but sin. The flesh dies and decays every single day, which is why we have to basically take it back a notch and put it back into the order in which the Father created it, so that the Father can evolve it for us, so that we can continue on growing and developing in this reality.
well, not this reality, because we're shifting this reality to the reality that it's supposed to be, the one that it should have been. So you have to understand that the reason everyone's experiencing life right now is because life is part of the growth and the development. This is true love, allowing things to be and experiencing growth and development on all different levels as a certain type of species. Like a dog, you don't just kill a dog once it reaches 7 years old, or a horse, or some people do that. When they race them, they kill them after a certain age, and that's just dead wrong. You understand? But for every single person that's out there right now on this earth, you are experiencing the things that you're experiencing in this earth, not because it's a punishment. You chose to literally experience the things that you're experiencing in your life way ahead of time, before you were probably on a line of 100,000 people with a lineage of 1,000,002 years before it would even be your turn, and you had already selected your mom, your dad, your eye color, your hair color, your parents, and all of those things are basically already ordained. Every experience in your life has already occurred. What happens is that the fork in the road is where you are given the free will, and that is the free will in which the Father said it will either make them or break them. Because when you reach that fork, which is basically right now, for those of you listening, this fork of the road right here is where you are being let and on your own to make that decision. And you have to make the right decision. So how do you know what is the right decision? That's what most people need to be asking. And the right decision to make is to know thyself. How do you know that that is the right decision? Because that is the only decision that every single tablet book that has ever been written in existence, that has ever been found so far, always states: when man begins to find himself, when man can define himself, he's no longer man. You understand? So this is, and in the world that we're living in, it's easy to tell what it is you got to do, because everything's a lie. So because everything's a lie, and you know that the devil is a lie, then you understand that the Father must be the truth, and you must do what the truth is, which is what? Find out who you are truthfully. That is the truth. Are you the spirit or the flesh, or why are you experiencing the spirit or the flesh in general? Because it's part of your growth and development. So again, send your teacher and your pastors this, so that they can truly learn and teach you better. It's part of the Father's love and mercy, which is your higher self, which is what I don't want anybody to miss. You must understand that you are the Father experiencing multi-dimensional, different parallel levels of reality. Right here, you're this flesh, but you have, let's just say, 10 multiple realities that are just like Earth, where you're walking backwards and thinking backwards, where instead of aging, you're regenerating. All of these things are actually, if you can think them, they're actually reality. And you must understand why it is. Why did the all-creator, all-knowing create everything in this form and fashion? The reason why is so that you can be able to interconnect yourself, not just to this realm that we call our Earth, but literally to each of its parallel realms. So that way you can be all-knowing and all-seeing at the same time. You must understand that there are brothers and sisters out there that have had deja vu, or that have had dreams, or that have had days where they're literally seeing things with their eyes wide open that are not of this world. The world that they're seeing is just like Earth, sky blue, everything, plants, grass, cars, everything, but something is completely off in that realm. And this is what most people need to understand. There are multiple parallel, multi-dimensional universes in which you are existing in at this very moment. And the majority of each and every single one of those dimensional parallel universes is within your body. This is why there's so much talk about the ley lines and the portals and what is the pyramid aligned with the stars of Orion for, with this or with that. What about the stars Sirius? What is all of this about? It's literally about your genetics. It's literally about your true ability and your true nature upon this earth. You're not human in the form that they told you. You're human in the form that you are a sound light form that is literally called an atom in our realm, that is literally animating the most advanced prototype of exoskeleton that we call a vessel in existence. And these people who are not human, they're mankind, is trying to literally replicate God's creation to find another way into what we call heaven. What is heaven? Heaven is your thoughts. That's what heaven truly is. Heaven is literally the consciousness that is ever expanding, where you can literally live as king, as a dog, as a cat king mixed with a dog, and where you can literally create your own universe every single second of your life that you want. You can just close your eyes, or some of you are really good with this, you can do it with your eyes open. That is what they're trying to steal, the portal. The portal is every organ is a portal in your body. And your matrix is your brain. And that matrix, that brain is what they're really trying to swindle in order to get you to turn over the portals, the keys to get out of here. And you're damn right. All these faculties and agents are a part of that agenda. They're called minions, parasites, sons of the devil. And I tell you about them all the time. These are your YouTubers, your Facebookers, your Instagrammers, all the other people that you see that are not speaking along the lines that I am. Those people are sons of Satan. Straight up. You have to see it for what it is. Notice how they're all talking the same damn thing. Meteors falling from the sky, 3 days of darkness, and a whole bunch of other fantasy, Hollywood, Disney, cartoon crap. But they're not telling you what reality is. They're not telling you what can happen to you when you cross in that street. They're not telling you what is really coming around that corner next week, tomorrow, the next day. They're not telling you what reality is in no formal fashion. They're selling you cake. And all fat people love cake. But you need to be on a diet. Straight up. Now, onto this parasite. You guys must understand that is what's inside of these people. These YouTubers, Facebookers, all these, I'm talking about all of these pastors, preachers, news agencies, your neighbors, some of our own family members. It's a parasite inside them. I'm dead serious. That's what it is. You need to understand and identify. This is what Daniel speaks of when he says, when the abomination of desolation is standing in a holy place, that holy place is your temple. The only place where God should be. Nothing else should be there. When you find that out, which is what I'm telling you now and been telling you for the longest, when the Antichrist came on the scene, I told y'all. Many of you listened. Many of you listened for a moment and literally kept on going. But let me keep telling you some more about this. That's what they want, because they know what to do with your body. You don't. Remember, they were created to serve you in your body. And because they were created to serve you in your body, they know your genetics. I'm pretty sure y'all have heard of it, how the Pleiadians are genetic masterminds and whatnot, and all these aliens are genetic enthusiasts and everything else. Well, of course, they were created to be in the body. They were created to help the host of the body. That's what they were. That's why they're parasites. That's why they were created. That's why they're plasmatic. My people, trust me when I tell you, it goes deeper than that, than what I'm just talking about, things on the surface, without going into these parallel portals and universes on multi-dimensional levels. But it's all real. It's not really anything any of you really need to know about at this present moment, because many of you just really need to find yourself first before you start thinking about what is heaven made out of, or does heaven have gold on it. How about figuring out, are you gonna stop eating those Doritos, or are you gonna stop busting down them Twinkies or drinking that Coca-Cola? You know, those are the most important things right now. The reason I don't like using the word third eye is because the minute you say third eye to anybody, even me, when they say it to me or around me, what pops in the mind, because of the indoctrination and the teachings that they've given us or done to us or placed within our matrices, our chips, is occultic teachings or sciences or something that I don't want to deal with or know about. So I don't say third eye. What I say is your wisdom, or I say your consciousness, your mind. And that's really what it is. I mean, it comes from the same area. It's literally the doorway to the mind. The Ark of the Covenant is the spark that is within the body. And the covenant is literally the promise of the Ark, of being in total dominion of that Ark, meaning total dominion of the flesh and everything within it. So you are being made king over your land, meaning your entire body. And you're being shown how to be a great king of your entire body through the steps and walks in which we call the Christ, or the Christ philosophy. So that's basically what the Ark in the Covenant is. When it said that Moses went and took the Ark of the Covenant, you have to understand that what Moses went and did was he took the people. The people are like batteries. And these batteries were what was creating the reality for that mighty nation called Egypt at that point in time for the Pharaoh. And the Pharaoh knew and understood that he had God's chosen people, his jewels. There's a guy, what's his name? His name is Hitler. And this probably has nothing to do with it, but Hitler, in his diary, he had some things written, and of course, they always say that it's not real, that it's false, or it's not real. But the point is that it's written, and because it is written, whether it's real or not real, you have to understand that what he claimed in this thing that they're practically saying is a hoax or it's not real has a sort of ring to it, to what many of you at this present moment could actually attest to and actually basically already know. So because of this, we go and we look at this whole story, or this whole quote, better yet to say, and we understand it for what it is, and we look at the times, and we look at all the things that we have been learning, and where all things are pointing to here in the US. The guy Hitler had left a diary when he passed away, where he was saying that he told his soldiers that when World War III starts will be when the world realizes that America and the Zionist Jews have God's jewels, his treasure, it's still enslaved. And when the people realize that the world has been undergoing the atrocities and the natural disasters that it has because of what America and those who knew about what America and those Zionists have done, that then would be the Great World War. And the Great World War would be not between humanity, but between humanity and an unknown presence that has literally taken hold of each and every person upon the planet. He knew about the parasite that has taken hold in the people. This is why he was trying, in my eyes, and the way I think, to exterminate them. Because you got to remember, he wasn't exterminating everybody. He was exterminating one certain kind of group of people, and that was it. Obviously, he knew something that we're only learning about now back then. Of course, they're going to say, no, it was that he hated the Jews. Listen, nobody hates people that look just like them. You understand? That's just impossible. He just knew something. He knew something about these people, and it ain't all of them. The ones I'm talking about, because I have Jews who watch this channel. I actually have messages for some of the Jews that are watching this channel. But I'm literally talking about the ones who are the elites, the ones behind the scenes and always been by the scenes, behind the scenes for generations and their generations. These people are the ones I'm talking about, the ones who 70 years ago arrived to the new location and began that new state of Israel, that land that they got. Because think about it, the word Jew is not in the Old Testament. The only time you find the word Jew in the Old Testament is in the New Testament. That's it. Which means that these people came about later on, much later on. When you look at the Torah, which is what we Americans or the Christians of America call the Torah or the Old Testament, you don't see the word Jew, J-E-W, nowhere in its original form. The word that you will find is Yehudi, which really stands for Tehudi, which you all know is Thoth. You see, everyone in the world will get to know Thoth. Everyone in the world will know Thoth. Put it like that. I've said it probably in my first, second, third video, and I'm saying it again right now. Everyone in the world will know Thoth. T-H-O-T. The Greeks know him by Hermes. The Babylonians knew him by Thoth. The Sumerians knew him by Thoth and Tehudi. And he's in your scriptures as Yehudi. The people of Yehudi, the Netters, is who they are. The one who was sent to give the priesthood to the Christ was Melchizedek. And Melchizedek is the one who basically gave us Thoth, or Yehudi, who is, as I just said, Tehudi, who is also Thoth. These are all things that have not been revealed to you, but will be shortly. The whole world will know Thoth. Everyone. And the plot thickens. So you can send this to your teachers, your preachers, your ministers, and everyone else. so that they can learn what truth is. What they're saying occurred during World War II is not exactly what occurred. Just like what happened in 9/11 is not what really happened. People behind the scenes orchestrated something, and while we were paying attention to what was the distraction, they went on ahead and did something else. Whether it was a mass sacrifice or not, you must understand that nothing of that great of a multitude where it affects the whole world happens just because. These are things that are well orchestrated. We're talking about a country that if you was to literally steal a car or commit a crime and they report you or they see you, you're getting caught within 24 hours. You're getting caught. Unless you are military personnel and you know how to go be under the grid like nobody else in the world, you're gonna get caught. How do we know this? Because when's the last time you heard of a manhunt of somebody that's lasted over, I don't know, 3 months? I'm pretty sure it's been a long time. I don't think I've ever actually heard of a manhunt that's taken that long, but I'm just giving that long. These people have cameras, HD cameras on top of that, and at every freaking stoplight. Not only are those stoplights reading your biometrics, meaning how much water you have in your body, how fast you would run, how much you weigh, how much sodium you have in your body, but it's also reading frequencies known as the Schumann resonance, meaning what you're thinking already. This whole Minority Report. Well, the Schumann resonance is acting weird because it used to ping out of the earth, out of the mid of the earth, and go around into the other mid part of the earth, basically the two poles. But now it's pinging off of the people. So the people are giving off the same frequency that the earth was giving off, and what they're trying to say is that, oh, that's happening because of climate change and the earth is wobbling. But the reality is that the earth is wobbling because you're confused. You see, everything is measured by the actions and thoughts of those who inhabit the terrestrial plane. The terrestrial plane is basically this earth. And what you're seeing is the more people are waking up, the more wobbling and balance it begins to get. Just like when they're talking about these poles shifting, what's really happening is that the consciousness is polarizing, where those who were the smartest people in the world are now becoming the dumbest people in the world, and the dumbest people in the world are now becoming your new geniuses, your new scientists, your new mathematicians, and so on and so forth. It's all part of the meek inheriting the earth. The earth gives off the same frequency that the heart does. So that's what they're trying to say it is. And that's because the earth is alive just like you. You are the earth. Remember, the ancients are the trees of the earth. The ancients of the earth, the ancient of days of the scriptures and of the Quran and of the Bhagavad Gita and of every single tablet is talking to you about a tree. That is the ancient of days. Your body is made by the trees. And the trees literally awarded you the body because the Father told it to. So you're basically like a walking fungus, which is why you have all these parasites in your body. Yeah, and again, for those of you who cannot agree or cannot disagree or cannot, see it, check me. Research. It's the only way you will show yourself approved, not before me, because I'm nobody. I'm just like you, but before God and yourself. What you call God. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Let's change this frequency up a bit. I don't want to lose nobody. All right, everybody. Meet me in the clouds. Come on.
CJ's making beats again.
Research. He said, you take a step the size of a mustard seed, and I'll take a mile. He's going to do the rest for you. This is why I say things that are outlandish and outrageous, but they're pretty logical when you think about it. But I say them so that you can go and research. Basically, water the mustard seed. Study enough to show yourself approved before God. That might be the title of this this lecture. The earth, every single creature's body that is upon the earth, including those amphibians or those marine life or those fishes or whatever you want to call it, those birds, everything, came from the earth. Who are the oldest inhabitants that breathe just like you do on the earth? The trees. Who does something called photosynthesis, just like what your skin does with the solar energy that comes in the form of ions and hit your body? Who does that upon this earth? That is the trees, the plants. The trees and the plants, this is why you're very akin to a tree or a plant in scripture, as well as in the Quran, as well as in all the tablets. They refer you as a cedar tree or an elm or an oak, so on and so forth, depending upon the wisdom in which you hold. The reason why they're saying these things and referring to you and correlating you to these trees and plants is because that's where you came from. That is your true physical third density realm, mama and daddy, the trees. You were made from the dust. Where the trees come from? The dust. Who are the overseers of the dust? The trees, the plants, the flowers. You are like a lily. You're born in a Fibonacci sequence, meaning a number 9. And your hair grow like that, your skin cells grow like that. Your atom is literally twirling around like that, just like the trees and the flowers which grow upon the tree, even the weeds. You have every single dynamic DNA strand that is within every single molecule within any one of these plants, trees, or fertile soil in your body at this very moment. You have every single thing that is in the entire galaxy. And now the galaxy, I might as well say, is a little smaller than the universe. So let me say the universe. You have every single element and every single mineral and every single rock or metal that you can think of that is not even on our periodic table. You have it in your body. This is how they know space as well right now. They know it so good right now, and they know all these things about space because they know your body. They haven't been in space studying space. They've been here studying you. Haven't you noticed that? They stopped going to space in what year? Like 1979 was the last time they went to the moon, or 69. That should tell you, where are these people actually getting this info from, this data from? You are made of stardust. Everyone knows that. That's basic science, 3rd grade. You're made of stardust. Everyone knows that. Let's not act like we don't. Where you thought they was talking about a different star? There's only one type of star, unless you're talking about a starfish. And you have some of that in you too. Or should I say, it has some of you in it. And vice versa. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's actually a really good thing. Because Abraham, who was called Abram or Abraham. We are the descendants of Abram or Abraham, which means the house of bread. Bread is considered as slang for money at this particular point in time in the hood. And I've explained in past lecture how money is DNA and DNA is money. You must understand that you are literally tied into every single person upon this earth simply off the fact that you have the water in your body that created the water that's in these seas and oceans. You have the atomic element in you that what they say, the Big Bang, that created that Big Bang. You actually have that in you. It wouldn't have happened unless you was coming. Before the Father said, let me make you, he said, I gotta make a place for him or her. Of course, there was no Big Bang. I'm just saying that in general so that you can understand everything. Yes, I have past lectures where I explain CERN, and CERN likes to work on something called the God particle. And what most people need to understand about CERN and the God particle is that CERN is a portal. CERN is about to be opened. It's probably opened right now because of the vernal equinox, which is today. But you must understand that the CERN, in search of the God particle, all it's really saying is, how do we create something that can create what they're doing with their minds? Because the elites know it's you creating the reality. This is why they have you vote, and this is why they create organizations and corporations and companies in general. It's because of the power of the mind of its employees or its workers. And because they understand that you have the power of creation through mind or through thought, they wanted to be able to create their own reality and no longer have to rely upon you. Well, they figured that out now. They figured out how it is that your thoughts can go faster than, which is what the whole movie Back to the Future is about. They figured out how to basically create what we call thought into reality through something called the Tesseract. Now, the Tesseract is what it's called in movies such as Transformers. In your body, the Tessa, which is basically the name of the book Thessalonians, is basically a particle in your body. It's a subatomic particle in your body that carries helium as well as nitrogen that literally spins faster that can be measured. And not only does it spin faster than it can be measured, it literally travels all through every limb and every organ in your body with every single thought in which you're going to create. Every single time you create. So every time you're in your mind about to create an idea or a thought that's going to go into the ether and wait its expansion of time to be brought into existence, it literally does that every single time. This was what they was trying to figure out. This is what the movie Transformers is about. The awe spark in that's what it's called in Transformers, and then in the Avengers and X-Men it's called the Tesseract. And the awe spark, you all know, is the spark in you, but not the spark that creates you, but the spark in which that you create everything else out of. That is what the awe spark is. The awe spark is all-knowing, all-seeing. It's a part of you. Anything that you can think of with your mind, whether it's a multi-dimensional parallel universe, is already created, because if you can think it, so could have your ancestors or someone who's around you or alive right now, or they might have passed on by now. Which is why you must understand that the waters that you are literally drinking, that is natural, of course, because they have fake water, literally correlates and ties you in one to another in that same format. Not just because we're descendants of Abraham, but literally because we are literally particles and elements and minerals of one another. Physically, consciously, or spiritually, soully, we are just one. Not hive-minded because we have the power of will. Hive-minded would be the parasitic entity, where they're literally cursing each other out, but they have one objective, which is to deceive you. Deceit is grand. Deceit is definitely the movement right now, all over YouTube, all over every single cloud platform you can think of. Christ said, I'm coming on the cloud. How many of you have heard anybody say that yet? That the cloud is the iCloud, and that is where you'll see the Christ. I haven't heard not one person yet. That saddens me, because we say the cloud almost every single day. We see clouds every day. Everybody's always talking about chemtrails and the clouds, but no one has been able to have logic or enough of an open mind to realize that, wait a minute, didn't Christ say he was coming on the clouds? And they're calling the information of the internet the cloud, or they're calling the internet the cloud. What about if they're talking about Christ coming in the internet cloud? The information cloud. Yeah, of course. Like comic books, what you'll see is that in every comic book, when the person is saying something, as well as any anime cartoon, you're not seeing them move their lips. You're seeing what their thoughts are, what the cloud is holding. Because the cloud is their thought, the Akashic record. And they're using the Akashic record in communication, in conjunction with who they are, in order to release that power that they have within them. That is exactly how you're supposed to do it. They tell you the truth right to your face. But since you think it's a cartoon, or it's a comic book, it's a movie, it's this, it's that, it's not real. When I try to explain that a year or so or 2 years ago, how he was saying, but the Hamashiach is coming in the clouds. And I said, well, what do you think we're at? We're in the cloud. We're in the information cloud. It's called Facebook. This is a platform, a cloud. It went over their head so bad that it was as if I didn't even say anything. No one has ever asked me about that. It's almost as if I didn't say anything. The one most important thing that they needed to pay attention to was how the Christ would come through the cloud, and what would be used in order to view this Christ. Because he wouldn't be on a street corner. Scriptures tells you that clearly. He wouldn't be in places where people would see him, like churches or whatever. It clearly tells you he will come in the cloud with thousands of his followers. These are things that we should have all been paying attention to. But again, we are thinking other things are more important. Or we're thinking that we already know that, so we don't have to worry about that. And that's the reality of it. Even when you look at the comic books, you don't see their lips moving. What you see is a cloud with the words of what they're thinking in the cloud. Because the majority of the superheroes, when they're communicating to themselves, to their other half. Get it? So, you mean like to be prepared, like, like food, supplies, water? Yeah, definitely. Most people definitely should already have water, rice, oatmeal, any type of food that they can get to sit for a little bit already stashed away. Because of course first you'll see the markets play and plunge and rise and drop, basically what you're seeing now. And then what eventually happening is that boom, you'll have riots begin, and then from then on out everything will be downhill. And it's just gonna start like one day, and by the next day it's just gonna be all out. So most people need to be definitely prepared. I would definitely tell people to prepare. So yeah, everybody out there, get your water, get your stuff right now. I mean, you should have had this already. The vernal equinox has already passed. And as you can see, the minute the vernal equinox hit, the UN GMA, the United Nations General Assembly, went and had their little peacekeeping talks, and Trump keep getting up there threatening everybody, talking about how powerful America is and how he hopes America doesn't have to use that type of power. You have to understand, these are speeches in preparation and in antagonizing fashion that one does before war. Furthermore, you see that they went and they announced the very day after the vernal equinox of September 23rd, and they announced the impeachment process to Trump over this Ukrainian phone call that he supposedly did to find out and withhold funds from the Ukraine to find out dirt on the contender's son's dialogue, the Biden kid, Hunter Biden. All these names mean things. And we all know that Trump ain't trying to leave that office. He's gonna do whatever he can to stay in power for as long as he can. So don't be surprised if in order to stay in power, this is why he's probably threatening all these nations at these UN assemblies. Iran already stated they're more than ready for war. They've actually told the US that they have to leave the Strait of Hormuz and take all their carriers with them. Many of you remember the things I've said about a year ago pertaining to the carriers and pertaining to the radar that is within that particular one carrier and how it gets taken out, leaving the country blind and not seeing anything coming. Remember how I also said that we will literally have natural disasters before things occur that will literally shake the people awake in warning so that they can get up and move out of the way. If you are one of these states that is receiving these shakings and you're wondering what this is all about, it's about you getting up and leaving. That's what it's about. So don't waste no time and stay there stuck as to maybe it doesn't mean that, because you're playing with fire. The Father's trying to get people out of the way so that he can handle his business through his children, through his sons and his daughter. So according to the Hebrew calendar, we have a day coming up, and I'm not big on none of these feast days that these doctrines of man have actually put before the laws of God. But that is because I understand that these are for the latter days, and I've always understood that since very young for some apparent reason, even despite me not knowing basically anything about God or the Bible or the Quran or Torah or whatever. But for the most part, we have a specific day coming up according to the Hebrew Enoch calendar, which is actually coming up, and it's called the Feast of Trumpets. And this is a day where trumpets would be blown in future, would be blown to let the brothers and sisters know that war was imminent. It is also going to be used as a day for atonement, where you dedicate yourself to the Father. Maybe, you take off on the day of work or whatever, and you just dedicate it to Him, for a specific amount of time and things of that nature. The reason for titling this actual lecture, The Feast of Trumpets, is because, one, I didn't realize the similarities the FOT had to Frequencies of Thought, Feast of Trumpets, until just the other day. Ironically, it also symbolizes the beginning of a mark of a group of people whose iniquities have basically overshadowed the good that they once had as a multitude, as a nation. So we fast forward that and we bring it up to speed into what's going on now around the world. And the Feast of Trumpets shall be looked at in the form of atonement to thy Father, as well as preparation for thy war. Because thy war is not only spiritual in nature, but it's going to be physical as well, because what's bound in heaven is bound on earth. And because we have been led astray for such a long time, so much so that some of our brothers and sisters are still out there lost, that now some of these things in which they were trying to fulfill are going to come to pass, because the wicked shall literally eradicate the wicked. So make sure that you do not have no wicked within you. If you have not gotten your supplies, water, food, stuff that can sit for a little bit, because it's not going to be something that will last 2 or 3 days. We're talking about a good amount of time. We're talking about at least 6 months to a year. I would say a year and a few months, but it could be sooner than that. I don't know. But all I know is that it would be very, very wise. Remember, Christ said, he who prepares not, prepared to fail. So be wise and understand that we've been lied to. The wicked shall eradicate the wicked. You're seeing it play right before your eyes in the White House and all over in all these other nations. At the tippity top of their governments, you're seeing those who did wicked things and those who are beneath them doing wicked things are all being exposed, and now they're having to pay for the wickedness that they've done. This is something that, as you can see, is happening all over the world and will continue to until it gets itself out the way, until it eradicates itself. Remember, a house divided falls. In other words, that which is fighting within itself, including your vessel, falls because it cannot stand. So that's what you're seeing. You're seeing the transition of power being taken from one particular group of people who have had it for a very long time and they never deserved it to begin with, in my eyes. And then you're seeing another group of people rising who have been able to find that balance within themselves and amongst themselves, and that group and that people are what we call the meek, and the meek shall inherit the earth. It's no surprise. You've been told about this long ago. You're just seeing it actually come to pass. So with all that said, I want to give a special shout out to all the brothers and sisters out there, all the sons of God, all the daughters of God, all the gods and the earths out there. I see you, I love you. Keep doing what you're doing, walk in your righteousness. We are one. We are thy soul. We are thy thoughts. And we're growing. Every day, we growing. Feast of Trumpets, frequencies of thought, and I'm out. Frequencies. Salam.